This is a quick overview of Inkscape 1.0. That is the version that I'm running for Inkscape. In case you already have Inkscape, you can look at the version you are running by going to about. You go to help and then about Inkscape, and then it tells you the version that you have installed. If you have not already installed Inkscape, I have you can go to the description below and download it. Assuming you've downloaded, or it will take you to this website where you can download it. Assuming you've downloaded Inkscape and installed on your computer, when you open it, this is what you see. This small rectangle here is normally called the page, or we can think of it as a paper that we'll be doing our drawings or activities on, and maybe you can look at this as a table where the paper is on. Now you can increase the size of this by going to your keyboard and pressing plus, or you can reduce it by going pressing minus. You can also change it to a standard form, or a form by pressing just 5. This gives you somehow this form, or you can also go to press 6 and then it makes it rather very wide, depending on whatever you want. You can also increase it by also going to view and then zoom. And in zoom, you can rather zoom in, zoom out, make it 1:1, 1:2, or whichever options you choose there. Now when you open it, you get these tools here on the left. Each tool here, when you press it, it gives you a corresponding control tool on the right here that you can use to operate whatever you have here. This is normally the selection tool. It's a very useful tool. You'll be used most of the time in your drawings because you want to select your object to do something to them. And this is the edit path by node tool. This is also another useful tool. If you think of it, I think Inkscape 1.0 has ordered the tools according to what they feel is the frequency that you will be using the tools. Well, it's not exact, but more or less you get what I'm saying. Now this can help you to create a rectangle or a square. Here you can create something like circles, ellipses, arcs. You can create stars and polygons. You can create 3D boxes. This creates spirals. This is to draw Bezier curves and straight lines. This is something like a pencil. You can see it as a pencil to draw freehand lines. This is to draw calligraphic or brush strokes. This is for you to write a text, and then we have other options here that you can look up. The thing is that I also have separate videos explaining how to use each tool completely. For this purpose, I just want to go through the basics so you can just start doing something. Now let's try to draw a rectangle for you to see how it's used a bit. If you see, I've drawn a rectangle here. I want to, in this rectangle, you see that I have a pink color here, and I have some purple boundary. Now in Inkscape, this here is called the fill, the inside is called the fill, and the boundary is called the stroke. And you can update these by just selecting whatever objects you have. You left click it and you select the objects you have, and then there are color palettes here that you can use to update it. You can also change your stroke if you want to change the stroke as well. This I use to just change the fill. If you want to change this, first of all, I forgot to tell you something. This color palette is not the only colors that you can use. You can also go to object, fill and stroke, and this thing will pop up which gives you also the same thing. You see, we have fill and we have fill here. We have stroke paints, which is the boundary, and we have stroke here. And then this determines the stroke style, whether you want the stroke style is whether you want it wider. Let's change this to 3. It was 1 initially. You see it becomes wider. If you want it smaller, the boundary smaller, you use this. Now this will change the stroke paints. You have these color palettes. There are different forms. You can use the RGB, HSL, HSV, CMYK, the wheel, and CMS. Now I'm using this now, HSL. What you can do, this is the H, this is the S, and the L. You can manipulate it to get a color that you think you prefer. You see, as I move it, because I'm in the stroke paints option, it updates the paint more or less on the stroke. And this here, the A is the alpha channel, so you can use it to change whether something is it determines the opacity of the object. If it's totally 100, it means the object is totally opaque. As you move it to the left, the object wherever it's selected becomes transparent. In the same light, in case you want, we are in the stroke, in case you are not using this, you can just come here and press Control, you press Shift, and then you choose a color here, and it will also change the boundary. Now if we were dealing with the fill, you can also change the colors of the fill here as well. Manipulate the colors, adjust these buttons and the alpha channel in case you want it transparent a bit or whatever. So this is how you can use. And one thing is that if you see, when I select any object that you've drawn, you can, the first click will give you these handles here. With this handle, you can make the objects big or small. If you want to maintain the object, the aspect ratio as you expand it, you have to go to Control and then hold it and move it, so it's almost the same. If I take my hand from the control and do it, you see it just expands it according to which direction you are doing. If you click it again, so I click once, and then second time, you can just then rotate the object as you wish here. One thing I forgot to tell you is you can change. If you don't want any fill, you can either come here and just press this. But first of all, I have to select the object, and then you go here. Oops, sorry. And then it removes the fill. It means there's no fill. You can you can also do the same thing here. This is showing the color. If you come here with this sign here, it means you don't want any fill. If in case it's the stroke that you don't want any stroke, first of all, let's put the fill here, stroke, and I don't want any stroke. I press this and it goes away. If I want it again, I bring it. You can use other options here like the gradients. You can change. If you go to the fill, you can change the gradients. I've done videos on all these tools, so it's I would suggest you please go and have a look at all those videos, since this is an introduction just to Inkscape. Now let's look at this. These are drop down tools that you can use as well. If you come here, this file, if you go to file, it's more or less similar to most programs or applications. You can open something you have already and bring it here. You can save, and you can save it as SVG. Why do people prefer using Inkscape, a vector graphic, than maybe a bitmap example like a JPEG? Because JPEG, because in Inkscape, no, in SVG files, if you want to do something like a big poster and you blow up the image, still the image is not distorted in any form. But in JPEG, you see that if it's very blown very big, you see that there's some small pixels in it. So that's why people normally prefer using vector graphics, and Inkscape is a free software and does very wonderful things compared to vector graphic programs or softwares that you have to pay a lot for. Okay, so now you can export also your file as a PNG. If you go here, I have a whole tutorial on that, and how you can export your file. So you can look in my, you can find my video. Now let's go on here so we get the simple overview a bit. I forgot to do this. Maybe we do some tests for you to just see something. If you press there, you can just write whatever. It works like normal test. You press enter and then you can write. You can change the font size and other things, and the font form by pressing here. I have a video on that as well. Now if you go to edit, you can edit your drawings. You can cut, you can copy, you can paste, you can duplicate, clone, delete, select all. If you go through them, you see this. One thing I forgot to tell you is that in Inkscape, all the objects here, all these here are considered as objects. To modify them, I told you can either use this, you can use the selection. Even a text is considered as an object anyway. You can use this, and I showed you how to use it. But to use this, if I press this, if you see, I don't know whether it's visible, but you can see some small notes here that you can touch, and you can manipulate the object as well as you want. But maybe you want to manipulate it far better than where I clicked using these ones. So the thing you have to do is you have to convert this image into a path. So what you do is that you go to path and object to path. Now you see the circles changed, and now if I touch this, I can manipulate it in different forms. Always don't forget, for you to do anything to any object, it has to be selected first. You can either use the selection tool or edit path by node tool to select it. At least majority of the time you will be using the selection tool to select it before you do anything to whichever object you are working on. Okay, now here you can work on layers. This gives you the object properties and other stuff, which I will be going through in other videos. And we've dealt with the path, and then we have tests here. You can do other things here. We have filters. This is interesting. Let's say if you go to filters and you choose one of these things here, it can help to do cool things. Let's see here. If we have something like this, you see it changes this to this. You can do many things. If you go to filters, you have extensions. Extensions are other external programs that are incorporated in Inkscape. You can, for example, if you want to maybe change the cases of your test, or you think that you want to write some mathematical equations related, you can do so many things by this using the extensions, which I'll be doing videos on, and I have some other videos already on. And one other thing, yes, the other thing I wanted to talk about is these ones here. These ones here are command bar icons. These command bar icons, they are icons that appear here as well in some of these drop down menus. But for easy accessibility, you can come here. For example, if you come here, this will edit properties of your documents. If you come here, it aligns and distributes the document. View it. I hope you understand what I mean. You can view and select the fonts. If you click this, it changes to the fonts, and you can change the fonts of a text. For example, this, you can do the same thing as well. If you come here and then you come to text and fonts, you have the same thing, but they put it here for easy accessibility. So that is basically what I want to talk about in Inkscape as a short tutorial. Thank you for watching. Please help me by subscribing to my channel. Thank you. Bye.